biggest and most important part of marketing is mouth-to-mouth. A lot of people are shouting off the rooftops that you need to become an entrepreneur because it's the only way of building freedom in your life. Society has led us to believe that we need to work long hours, long days in order to make money. That's not true. The biggest mistake I see a lot of people make is that they're focusing on, okay, how do I get from where I am now to where I want to get to? We should turn it around. We need to flip it. The key element of setting really good goals is make it tangible, like associate a number against it or something that you actually can measure. If I collapse at some point, a really good part of the strategy is you build it out for 12 months, you have a global bird's eye view of it. After your first quarter, you have to look at the numbers and you have to look at what you've put in. And if that is on the direction, or if you need to pivot, if you need to tweak things, if you need to do things different. Hey there, listener. Welcome back to another episode of the Stories to Remember podcast. By the time you're listening to this episode, we're already in December 2023, which means 2024 is around the corner, and most of us will set new goals, have new resolutions, and have intentions of how 2024 should look like. But research has proven year and year again that a lot of people are already giving up on their goal or their intention after the first 30 to 90 days. And I do not want that for you. So today we're going to be talking about how can we set the right goals for you as a person. How can we build a very aligned strategy to make sure that you hit that goal? And what is the right type of goals to set for you as well? So let's start with the basic of a goal. What is a goal? What is an intention? Now, a goal is most of the time, or at least when you do it the right way, is something that you kind of dream about. Whenever you close your eyes and you think about, okay, this is the type of life I want to be living, that's the goal you should be aiming for. Now, there are a couple of risks with this. And that is specifically when you're not yet aware enough about maybe who you are, how you think, what you believe in, what you need as a person, and what you tell yourself. So there is a part of awareness that is, again, very important whenever you set a goal. And why is this? Is because we're kind of living in a society where we're being told that we should want to live our life in a certain way. One of these things is, for example, entrepreneurship. A lot of people are shouting off the rooftops that you need to become an entrepreneur because it's the only way of building freedom in your life. That's not true. It's a load of crap. Sure. If it's something that you really want and you feel internally that that's what you need to be doing, then yes, it's a goal. But it should never be your goal if it's because someone else is telling you that that's the only journey you can take in order to generate freedom. If you're not an entrepreneur internally, if you do not feel it internally, then your goal is not yours. Your goal is there because you are following someone else's goal. You're following someone else's truth. And when you start doing that, your journey of getting to that goal will be very, very difficult. So the first thing you need to do is whenever you set a goal or have a goal in mind, is need to get very honest with yourself. Why are you having this goal? What do you believe it's going to give you? Why do you believe it's going to give that to you? Why do you want this goal? So if we go back to the entrepreneurship element, and if you've listened to any of my other episodes, you are probably already aware that for me, becoming an entrepreneur was something that has always been there in my mind. I just knew that that would be my next step in life, that I wanted to take in order to grow as a person, in order to challenge myself even more. And it was something that was inevitable. It was just gonna happen at some point. So the goal was mine entirely. I never believed for a second that I needed to do this because it would only give me the type of life I would be able to live. No. I think there are multiple ways to get to where you want to be. There's not just one way is the highway. So let that be a lesson. If you're having a specific goal, get honest if it's yours, yes or no. I have had goals in the past where the goals wasn't mine. I simply had it because I thought it would validate me or make me more worthy enough as a person. And I think in one of the episodes as well, we discussed around how a lot of females have this with their body goals, for example. They believe they need to have a certain type of body in order to be seen as beautiful or in order to be seen as worthy of a relationship or of love. That's the wrong type of goal. Your goal should be because you internally feel that that's what you need to do. And it shouldn't be for the external element of it. So that's how you know if you feel it internally. And how, that's the other question that most people come up with, but how do I know if I feel it internally? Well, that is by becoming really aware. It's sitting in silence, journaling, meditating, asking yourself the questions. I'm closing my eyes as I say that because that's how I tend to do it. Close my eyes and I ask myself, what do I want? Why do I want it? And most of the time I will have my notebook next to me so that I can write it down, because it is proven that when you write it down, it gets out of your mind and you can see it objectively. And it becomes more true for you as well, or it gives you the feeling of, okay, this does feel right or it doesn't feel right. So I do think journaling is a really, really great element for this. But ultimately, it's just being in silence, making sure that you can hear your own thoughts, that you can drop into your body, and don't let your analytical mind take over. Because that's the other thing that a lot of people tend to do, is they have a goal and they straight away, we'll come back to this in a second as well, they straight away go into an analytical mind and start downgrading or telling themselves they can't do it because of what their mind is telling them. So no, you should feel it within your body. It's also very important to set a goal, or to have a goal that is there to guide you and to give you a sense of direction, but you shouldn't be attached to it. And the reason for this is twofold. First and foremost, a goal is simply that, it's a goal. It's nothing more. When you start attaching it and think you need to achieve the goal to find happiness, to find worthiness, to find validation, to find freedom, then you're in the wrong place. And you need to let go of the goal. The goal is not there to give any of that. You make a decision to give yourself that. That's how you obtain those things. The goal is merely the sense of direction you get and a way to build a strategy of how to get there. Nothing more. So if you're currently too attached to that goal because you do believe it's going to give you that, then drop it right here, right now. And a lot of entrepreneurs have this, especially early on in their business. They feel that if they do not hit their revenue goal within a certain time frame, they will not be capable of helping others, or they will not be worthy enough to help others, or they're not made for business and entrepreneurship. Wrong, wrong, wrong. If I had a Zoomer right now, then I could say, I would do it, but I don't have one. But there you go. But no, the goal is not there for any of those things. The goal is there to help you guide, but we'll come back to that in a second. So, all right. we've set the goal, right? We find out what that goal is, and most of the time we get scared, because once we allow ourselves to dream about a goal, to think about something that feels very far away from our current reach, our analytical mind takes over, as I just mentioned, and we start thinking, oh, but this will never happen for me because I don't have the money, or because I don't have the skills, or because I'm at this first stage and there's still like this long, long mountain that I need to climb to get there, so will not be able to reach it within a year. You see what's happening? You're already pushing yourself down, you're pushing your goal down, and subconsciously, your mind is going to be telling yourself, you know what, just let that goal drop. It doesn't really matter. You will never achieve it anyway. There you go. And people will listen to it. They will drop it. So again, the awareness is very important with this, because if that's what's happening, the moment you've been dreaming about a goal and you kind of think like, this is what I want, but the moment you then go into your head and start downgrading it, become aware of it. Again, start journaling and be silent. Why am I doing this? Why am I believing this? Why am I thinking this? What has happened in my life that makes me believe that I cannot achieve this goal, or that I'm not capable of achieving this goal? Yeah, so there we go. Now, the other side of it is that in those moments that your analytical mind takes over and we downgrade the goal, we can also end up setting a very simple goal or achievable goal, one that doesn't really challenge us. The risk of that is that you're not being challenged, that you're not really seeing the change in your life that you want to be seeing, because the goal is too close to who you are at this point in time to achieve that goal, that therefore you're dropping it anyway as well, because you've achieved it. Or maybe it doesn't even look like it's really going to change much in your life, so why would you achieve it? And these are the type of things that go on in your mind without you realizing it. That's why a lot of people give up on their goal. That's why people are not sticking with it. So setting goals, to kind of repeat what I've been saying so far and summarize it. First and foremost, dream big. Secondly, check in if what you've been dreaming is really yours, or if you're dreaming it because you think it will give you something. If it's the latter, then go back to the dreaming bit and start all over again with a different dream. Journal about it and get really clear on what your values are and what you truly want in life and how you want it. One thing to mention there, don't get stuck into it. Like, if it takes you too long, then just go with the dream and start taking action on it, and new inspiration will come about what you truly want as well. So don't get stuck into figuring it all out and staying in figuring out modus. Just make sure you put action into it. Otherwise, you're never going to achieve it, and inspiration will most likely not come either. So action is always the best way of getting the inspiration, or new inspiration as such. So yeah, the second part is then to make sure it's really yours. The third part is making sure it's big enough for you to feel challenged by it. And yeah, I would say that's the key part there. Make it big enough that you feel challenged by it. If it's too big, it can sometimes also be scary to obtain it, or too far out. So then what is good is to find a milestone in between. So tell yourself, okay, if the really big version of my dream is, let's say I want to earn 1 million, but it feels too far out and I'm not sure if I can even believe that I can hit this, then maybe put 500k as a milestone first. That being said, I don't believe you can ever dream too big, especially not if you're then building a strategy, and especially not if you're able to detach from it. So if you can merely see that goal as a means to an end and a way of getting you to where you want to be, then it's fine to dream as big as you want. And that is what I would highly recommend. Like, set as big as you want, build your strategy from that, detach from the outcome, and just take the steps that are needed to get you there. All right, so now we've covered that part. The second part is, how are we going to get to our goal? And the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make is that they're focusing on, okay, how do I get from where I am now to where I want to get to? And we should turn it around. We need to flip it. You need to start with the end in mind. Where is it that I want to go to? And how can I work my way backwards to where I am right now? And the reason we need to flip it is because it's very hard to, if you think about a darker room, for example, and you see light at the end of the tunnel, then you kind of know where to go as such. But if you turn it around and you're starting at the light of the tunnel and there's only a dark end, it's very hard to kind of go into direction. So your light of the tunnel in this case is where you're starting. And if we, in that case, flip it around, it becomes, like I said, harder to really get there. So what I need you to do is you're going to look at that bigger goal, no matter what that goal looks like. If it's a business goal, then make sure it's revenue related, because that is tangible. It's a tangible goal, and that is another key element of setting really good goals, is make it tangible, like associate a number against it, or something that you actually can measure. If you can't measure it, you can't track it. If you can't track it, you never know if you're going into the right direction. So make it measurable. So let's say you have a revenue goal of that 1 million. Now, what you need to do is, I would firstly suggest to make sure it's a 12-month goal. So if the 1 million is your future goal and your 1 year goal is to have, for example, a 500K, then that's where you start. So make it a 12-year. Where do you want to be in 12 months down the line? Reason for that is 12 months is enough time for us to get towards a goal, but not too far out that we get discouraged. So that's why 12 months is a good beginning. Then from there, you're going to break that down into quality goals. So we have our monthly revenue goal of 500K, or a yearly revenue goal of 500K. You're then going to break that down into quality numbers. And that can be linear or it cannot be non-linear. It's up to you how you want to do that. And ultimately, that is just there to guide you and to make sure that you know what to do on a quality level. Again, because those are elements where you can start tracking. Like, you can check in every quarter. Am I still going in the right direction towards my end goal of 12 months? If you are going in the right direction, perfect. You can continue that route. If you're not going in the right direction, that's the point where you can start pivoting and make changes where it's needed, right? So then you can even break it down further and make it a monthly goal if you wanted it to, and work towards that way. I wouldn't necessarily, when it comes to revenue, wouldn't necessarily break it down even further. And the reason for that is, depending on what type of business you have, it's good to have some leeway and some room for error and room for the flow to happen as such. And there is always an ebb and flow in business. It's never a linear process. So giving yourself the room of at least 4 weeks to kind of find your path to it, to the end goal of that month, is great. Again, the goal is there to give you direction. So focus on that, detach from the outcome. as such. And that's why a month goal is better than a weekly goal when it comes to revenue, right? Or not necessarily talking about certain numbers as a guideline, such as the number of emails to send, or the number of leads to get, or the number of emails to get out, etc. Perfect. So then once you have that listed out, you can now start by asking yourself, all right, how am I going to get to that revenue goal? What do I need to get to that revenue goal? And this is broken down in a number of ways. First and foremost, you again need to create certain awareness of how you want to be living your life and your business. Like, how many hours a day are you going to be working? How many clients do you want to have on a day? Do you want to have clients, or do you just want to sell digital products? Maybe you want to speak at events, or maybe you want to have group coaching, or anything, right? And this is where you can start designing your life and your business on your terms. Everything is possible. So by creating an awareness of how you want to live your life and how you want your business to look like, you will give yourself the ability to align that back to your strategy. And again, it's very important with this that you're not getting too focused on the analytical part of it. And what do I mean with that? Society has led us to believe that we need to work long hours, long days in order to make money. I wish I had the button again, but that's not how it works. Society is wrong there. You can live a life the way you want it to. If you want to work 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, or even less, that is possible. Now, I'm not saying that when you start off your business, that it might be growing quicker if you put some more time into it. Sure. But at the same time, we're talking about goals and dreams here. So if you want to work towards the 500K a year, you want to work towards just working 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, that's what you need to focus your strategy on. If you're going to put in like, okay, no, I know that I need to be working 12 hours a day because otherwise I will never be able to hit this revenue goal, your strategy is going to be different than when you tell yourself, like, look, my ultimate goal is to just work 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I want to hit this goal. You will up your prices for your products, for example, which will give you more room to work less hours for the same amount of money, for example. Or maybe you decide to sell more often and have a shorter type of program. Like, there's all sorts of ways of how you can do that. Maybe you're deciding you're gonna have like a strategy where you have passive income coming through digital products, and you're gonna combine that with a more one-on-one coaching type of program. Maybe you can, like, ultimately you can design it however you want to. So don't get too focused on the digital, or on the not on the digital area. I meant, don't focus too much on the analytical side of it. Focus on what will make you happy, what you believe what type of life and business you want to have. So coming back to it, if we're then looking at that quarterly number that you're going to have, you're now going to have to think about, okay, how am I going to hit that quarterly number? And like I just mentioned, you can have multiple products, multiple services, multiple programs, or you can just have one and work with that for the coming year. If you're starting out in business, you're early on, then I would highly recommend you to focus on just one offer and one type of way to get people to that offer. And the reason I'm saying this is most of the time early on, we're making it ourselves way too difficult by providing multiple offers. we're either constantly in creating mode and never really selling, or we have so many offers that we're not entirely sure anymore what to sell, or our clients or leads will get too confused about what you have to offer them. And when we divide our attention across multiple areas, you can see how none of them will ever be 100% like perfect. Doesn't really exist, so that's why I'm doing it between brackets if you're not watching the video. But yeah, if you don't divide your full attention to one product and make that the best product possible for your customer, then it might be that no one ever is really gonna buy any of your products, or they might buy one and then they realize it's not as great and therefore don't buy the other. So whenever you start your business, start with one offer. Please do that first. Get clients into that offer first. Update that offer to make it as perfect as possible for your target audience. And that goes the same way of once you figure that out, so what's that offer going to look like? You then know how many offers do I need to sell in order to hit my revenue number for that quarter. Now, once you know how many offers you need to sell, you can then look at what's the way of me getting people towards my offer, and how many people do I need to convert. And most of the time we do this through an element of like free webinars, a free challenge, an ebook, or some type of lead magnet that gets people to know you. Again, it's important that this is something that resonates with your offer that you've created, but also feels good to you. And I think this is really important for both your offer, for the freebie, as well as how you're acting on social media and what you're doing, if you even want to do social media. And why am I saying this is, again, we're led to believe in this world of social media being one big hit that the only way of building a business is through social media. Look, I honestly, I think there are multiple ways of growing your business. I've been successful without social media in the past. Yes, we're living in a different day and age, but that doesn't necessarily mean that therefore there are no other ways. Like, you can collaborate with existing wellness studios, like yoga studios, coffee shops, brands that are out there. Like, there are multiple ways of growing your business, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just the highway of social media. Yes, it can definitely give you more global, like your audience is bigger, your target audience gets bigger once you go on the internet and use social media, because you're able to touch parts of the world that you wouldn't if you don't. But at the same time, the biggest and most important part of marketing is mouth-to-mouth marketing. And there is no better way of getting that done than not necessarily being on social media. Yes, I'm actually saying this out loud. I've experienced it myself. I've had to build 3 client bases when I was a hairdresser in different cities. And I never had to do any type of marketing for them. Because what happened once I built up my first one, which was by simply just providing awesome care. And it's the same now, by the way, in business, in my business element. But I guess I just wanted to give you a different example than that. Is by making sure that whatever you provide is done to the best of your ability. Like, make sure there's a transformation piece. Make sure that when people leave that session with you, or when they finish your program or went through the challenge or the digital course, no matter what it is that you're giving, make sure that people feel like they're a different person coming out of it. and that they feel seen, heard, and understood, that's when they're going to invite you to other people. That's when they're going to start talking about you. So yeah, don't again ask yourself why you're doing it the way you're doing it and why you believe you need to do things in a certain way. And if it's only because that's what you've been seeing or hearing on social media, then stop right there. Go back internally. Ask yourself, how is it that you want to do it? And again, trust that whatever comes up for you, it is possible. Otherwise, it wouldn't come up for you. So there you go. That's kind of how you then have your lead magnet. You always need to think about a conversion rate of about 50%. So if you need 10 people to buy your offer, then you need at least 20 people into your kind of funnel, your lead magnet, which means that you need to have, in general, about 50 people that you invite to it, or that you're talking to about your lead magnet and your offer. So think about a 50% conversion rate at each stage of that funnel as such. Now, once you've listed all of that out, you can already see how you can then start building out your marketing strategy around it. Because you now know what your business strategy is going to look like, how you're going to get to the revenue goal, how many people you need to get to that, into that offer, how many people you need to get into the lead magnet to convert into the offer, and how many people you need to grow onto social media or any other way, right? Email marketing is another great one, building an email list. So once you have that, you can then start looking into your marketing strategy and do that the same way, right? You now know what you need. If you count all of that up from a year to year, you can then break that down in, okay, what do I need at each stage? How much people do I need to interact with? And how much content do I need to create? Or how much do I need to have a webinar or do collaborations or speak at events or whatever that might look like? So that's how you then build your marketing strategy. And then on top of that, you can build your sales strategy as well. So start with the basic frame. And as you can see, it can be quite simple. It doesn't have to be difficult. But the difficulty comes from, I guess, you really choosing something that feels aligned to you and cutting out the noise of what is out there and what's being shared by social media. And also just really believing in your goal. Like it's a reason why I always tell you, if it comes up for you and you feel truly aligned to it, like you know just from every fiber of your being, this is what you're meant to be doing and this is right for you, then you should never question it. It's there. And you just commit to that. You know it's going to be yours. You don't question how long it's going to take you to get there. You don't question the steps you need to take to get there. You're not like, there's no doubt or worry about you being able to reach the goal. And when you are in that position, you're in the most powerful position to make your dream come a reality, maybe even sooner than you had in mind. And again, this is the part of detaching, right? When you truly believe into that goal will be yours, then you detach from the outcome. It doesn't matter anymore because it's yours anyway. So you don't have to stress about it. And when you don't have to stress about it, all you focus on is just taking the steps that you know is going to get you there. And it doesn't mean that there might be kinks in the road or that you need to pivot throughout that journey of obtaining the goal, right? It's the same with your strategy. Like a really good part of the strategy is you build it out for 12 months, you have a global bird's eye view of it, but then it doesn't mean that after your first quarter, you have to look at the numbers and you have to look at what you've put in and how you've put it in. And if that is on the direction, or if you need to pivot, if you need to tweak things, if you need to do things different the next quarter. So it's always good that even though you set that long-term goal and you broke it down for the entire year, to always look back and maybe make changes. And that also goes through elements such as, let's say you want to really improve your health the upcoming year as well. If there's one thing I've learned with that is, again, do the same format as just with the business strategy. So make a 12-year, decide on a 12-year plan. Don't try to focus on quick fixes. Like, that's never gonna work. Focus on the long-term lifestyle change, make it a habit, and just put in the work. Every day you take one tiny step forward, and don't try to do everything all at once. And I think that is a really, really key thing. If you're looking at a long-term goal, you also give yourself the room to focus on one thing first and then add on over time. But what you want to do is you want to have a focus period. And that's also why I'm suggesting, okay, especially when you're starting with a business, choose one offer. Like, that one offer is your focus, and you can tweak and make it better and improve on. And then by the time you start feeling really comfortable and really confident in what you have to offer, that's when things start to go more smoother. And that's where you maybe start to feel like, you know what, I'm up for a next challenge. And that's where you kind of add on another thing. And that's the same for your health. Most of the time we have all of these healthy habits that we want to include all of a sudden. Like, we want to start drinking more water. We want to start eating more healthier. So we skip all of the sugar and we just take out everything that we loved to eat. And we're going to go into this rabbit diet. I love it, but no, I still, I do love a salad. But either way, that was not the point. I got there by simply starting to implement one tiny thing at a time. And I do not implement something else if I'm not ready for it. Because I know, and I've learned the hard way, whenever I do, no matter what area of my life it's been, whenever I try to take on too much at the same time, I collapse at some point and I just let it all drop. It's not just one thing that I drop it all, because I feel like there is no movement and I feel like it's going so strenuous, like it's so difficult to walk that path. And that's not what your strategy or your business should feel like, or your life in general. It should not feel difficult. It should not feel like you're constantly swimming upstream. When it is, you're doing something wrong. It's not aligned to you. And there is a difference here, because I do know that it's risky saying it this way. There is a difference between something being challenging for you and something feeling very, very hard to do. Like, the first year of business is about 10 years of therapy, and that can be very challenging. If you've listened to episode 9 of the podcast, I'm talking about discipline, and I'm talking about how we're all going through this journey of okay, and this is where you all start, most likely at 2024 as well. You start at that start, you're very excited, you have new goals, and you go up to the excitement piece. Then you start implementing elements, and all of a sudden you start to question your goals, or you start to realize it's not going as easy as I maybe had in mind. It's not all as simple as I had in mind. Like, your mind is trying to trick you in certain ways as well. So that's why awareness, again, is very important. It's a topic I keep on adding up, so don't mind me. I will keep shouting off the rooftop, because awareness has been a key for me in every single part of my life and improving it and moving to the next level. Either way, so you're here, and then there will be a moment where you're down in that valley. And when you're down in that valley, things can feel very challenging. But if you're constantly feeling like you're swimming upstream, then you need to let go for a bit. Like, let go of whatever you're doing and let go of the goal if that's what you're too focused on and that's why it feels so difficult. But if it continues to feel that way and it continues to feel like it's draining your energy and you're honestly not sure anymore if this is what you need to be doing or if this is really meant for you, if you're challenging, if that's how you're really feeling and it feels so difficult to get out of it, then I would suggest you just let go for a bit. If it's your dream, it will continue to come back to you. You will continue to pick things up again. And if that is the case, then it wasn't that you were swimming upstream, then it was most likely that you were holding on too tight to a certain element. And that you were too focused on the outcome or too focused on the external world rather than the internal world. So things can feel challenging, that's okay. But when they start feeling too difficult, too hard to continue, then take a step back. Reevaluate what you're doing, how you're doing it. If it still feels like it's really yours, and then you will notice if it comes back to you and you start feeling inspired again when you let go, then yes, you take back on and you continue that journey. If it doesn't come back to you, then it's time to reevaluate and ask yourself if you've maybe been trying to live someone else's dream. Yeah, so to avoid that from happening, it's why it's so important at the beginning to have the awareness of that dream and check in with yourself if this is what you're meant to be doing, or if you're living someone else's dream, wanting someone else's dream because you believe it's giving you something. So that is that. I think on goals, we've covered a lot today, and I think there's a lot of food for thought here as well. If you do have any further questions around this, I'm always here to listen. So please just drop me a message on any of my social media channels, or just send me a hello via email and let me know your questions. I'm more than happy to help and provide my feedback on it. And make sure you start your goals before 2024 starts. So start thinking about your goals already, setting them, build out the strategy so that by the time the 1st of Jan hits, you know what 2024 is going to look like for you. All right. This is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Wrap up another episode on the Stories to Remember podcast. I want to thank you for being a part of our community. It's your support and engagement that keeps me going. I would also like to request a small favor. If you found value in this episode and enjoyed our podcast so far, I kindly ask you to subscribe. Your subscription not only means the world to me, but also helps me to expand the reach, connect with more incredible guests, and continue sharing inspiring stories. Furthermore, your engagement and feedback are invaluable to us, so please do share your thoughts on the podcast. For now, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and I can't wait to have you with us next time. See you then.